kind of like this jam.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Stockwell Roche Show. I'm Jason Stockwell with Remax Results.
Don Eldridge, Remax Results.
Every Sunday, 10 a.m. here on AM 1280 The Patriot. We ended the last segment with me talking about taxes and how Elliot Eisenberg feels that there's very low tax rates here in the United States comparatively or to the rest of the world. Some of you may not be feeling that as you're writing the checks or as you wrote the checks here in the last couple of weeks, or you're going to be writing the checks very soon. So just keep that in mind of there's flip side to both of it. I could argue both sides that we should lower them dramatically. I could also argue the other side that we should increase them. But personal opinion is tough there on that, and it's a touchy subject. So, but just know that we're lower than most other developed nations. That's a good even though it may not feel like it. But Jason made a good point. It depends upon the bracket, correct?
Yeah. And that's just basically income tax, right?
Yeah,
that's not
all the other
tax.
stuff.
If you go to the store and there's tax, there's taxes everywhere. So
taxes are everywhere. And I was thinking about it the other night about how much. I'm like, oh, well, should we move to Arizona or something where there's no state tax? But there's so much you get out of our state. There's a lot that our state has to offer, and I think it's great being here. Not that there's a lot that can be improved, but overall, it's really, really good with the companies we have here and the workforce and the staff and everybody that is and the work staff that is here. We're very, very fortunate in many ways. But on that note, if you need to get a second mortgage to pay your taxes, call Jason Light at 612-419-4517, 612-419-4517. I might actually be taking out a second mortgage to do that. So, Jason, I'll probably be talking with you after the show. We are getting into our special guest, Jill Ivanocek, who is the president and CEO of the Ronald McDonald House. Good friends with Don Eldridge, I understand, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So welcome, Jill, to the show, and just share a little bit about yourself, how you know Don, and what got you into the business, and what you're doing with with Ronald McDonald's House.
Well, my interest has always been in health and providing help for patients and their families. And my career in health started at the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation in Minnesota, where I was the executive director for 6 years, working with families with children affected by CF. And then I moved on to the National Kidney Foundation, and I was there for 8 years, and that's where I met Dawn. And
Awesome.
Dawn's family was affected by chronic kidney disease and transplant, and I was introduced to her, and she's such a good spokesperson for the cause that I wanted to recruit her to our board so we could go out and tell the story of transplant and chronic kidney disease. So as you may know, Don's dad went through kidney failure and did receive a transplant, and his story is really good.
Yeah.
There are stories out there that don't, end as well, but that's how we met.
Awesome. Yeah, we had Don, Diane, and the National Kidney Foundation on a couple weeks ago talking about that exact story of how young, I'm surprised how young the two people that were on who had husbands who had kidney failure, it was 37, I believe, and 39 years old. Mm-hmm. Very, very young. Mm-hmm. So that's how you know Dawn, and that was your background.
Right. And through both of those jobs, I ran into the Ronald McDonald House along the way because we had, families who had stayed there for transplant or treatment. And when this job became available, I just thought it was the right step for me, and everything that I had done previous had led up to this point. So I started my position the end of September of this year. So it's been about 3 months.
Awesome.
And it's been a wonderful, just a heartwarming experience.
So we've all heard of folks out there listening, you've heard of Ronald McDonald House, you've seen at McDonald's, you can put coins there. I don't know if they do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can put coins or change in the bins at the drive-thru or even inside the restaurants. But what exactly do they do now? Because it's been a while. Like I talked on earlier on the show when I was talking with Dawn, I said, man, it's great that we're having Jill on because that's one of the charitable organizations that kind of slipped through the cracks for me anyway, as far as remembering and hearing about and stuff like that. So,
Well, the Ronald McDonald House concept started in Philadelphia in the 1970s, and it was brought here to Minnesota 36 years ago. And we have a group of people called our founders who really founded the first house, which was on the University of Minnesota campus. And the reason they founded it is that they all had kids who had died of leukemia because there weren't any treatments available, any effective treatments really at that time. And all they could do was stay in the hospital. All they could do is eat out of vending machines, and they all thought, what would it be like if we had had a place to stay while our kids were going through treatment? And so an old fraternity house at the U of M was bought and converted into 8 rooms and 1 shared bathroom. Today, we have 4 different facilities across the Twin Cities. We have 71 rooms, and we serve over 4,000 families a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So the facility at the U of M has grown now into our biggest facility. It's 48 rooms. We house 48 families on any given day. And we have, scores of volunteers that come in and help do lunches and dinners, and we call house warmers. They help us clean the house, and people help manage our facilities.
the question I have is, so the premise of this is the families to be able to stay while their loved one or someone they know is in the hospital.
Right. Yep. While their child is there. For me,
Well, their child is where? At the...
is a patient.
Okay.
So, at the U of M campus, a lot of the kids may stay in the hospital. Some do stay with us, and they can go back and forth. A lot of the treatments that kids have, they're bone marrow transplant. And so, bone marrow transplant treatment is used more than just for blood cancer these days. There's metabolic disorders. There's a skin disorder that they use to try to reverse things. But that means that they're going to stay with us a long time. So the average stay is about 150 nights at our Oak Street facility.
Wow.
So we've had people there for more than a year at some point.
And that is if you're far, is it something that if you're out of state, is it more prevalent for people that come and stay there if they're out of state, or if you're out rural Minnesota, or what?
Right. So we have in our 4 facilities, our one on Oak Street, which is our biggest. You need to be 60 miles outside the Twin Cities area in order to stay there.
Okay.
But for our facilities inside the hospital at Children's Minneapolis, Children's in St. Paul, and Gillette, you could live across the street. And if you needed to be close to your child, you could stay in one of our overnight rooms.
Oh, that's great.
Right.
And so you guys are partners with Children's. We've heard of Children's. Remax does a lot with Children's. I know from the company and from the agents. That's one of I think it's the chosen or the preferred, I don't know what you want to call it, the chosen charity for Remax nationwide. I think it started with the founder maybe back in Colorado, but we can contribute so much to Children's on transactions or at the end of the year. And the company, I think they just came out with statistics that our area or our region contributed or donated or helped contribute over $500,000 to Children's last year, 2015. So that's partners. You guys partner up with.
Yep. We're
hospitals.
Partners. We're all in this together, is what we say. They have patients and families that, there's nothing like being, steps away from your child. At Children's, we get a lot of the NICU and the PICU kids who having a parent nearby has got to help.
Yes,
Because
definitely.
what's the alternative? Having had done this for 3 months and trying to get my speak right, how I describe the Ronald McDonald House is it's a place where families are going through the worst case scenario, and we're there to support them and offer them connection with each other and a warm place to stay and a good meal to have.
That's great. So Ronald McDonald House, providing a home away from home to keep families together during a child's serious illness is what Ronald McDonald House Charities are all about. And each year you help serve over 4,000 families, some from across the region and others from across the globe here in the Twin Cities. So wonderful, wonderful organization. As far as helping out, how do you guys operate? I mean, other than the coin thing we talked about at McDonald's.
Well, we are always in need of volunteers. So we have opportunities for companies or families or organizations to come in and cook meals. We serve 365 days out of the year. We serve dinner, and then on the weekends we do a brunch and a dinner. So people come in, they donate the food, they make it, and we get a bunch of people who are really thankful to be eating such good food. We also have what we call house warmers and people who come in who vacuum and dust and help clean things up.
Oh, yeah.
We even have a garden committee, so people who look at the outside of our facilities and try to make them as nice as possible. We have retirees who may have a background in building maintenance, and we'd love to have them come in and help us with all the things that we need maintenance for. I mean, our facility on Oak Street is 75,000 square feet, and 48
Wow.
rooms, so it's quite a bit.
It's a hotel. It's like it says a hotel.
But we also have volunteers who serve on various events committee, our board of directors, which is terrific. We have people who can come in and help us with just our administrative tasks, office management, picking up the telephone. We have hundreds of opportunities for people to be involved. We also have a school as well. So it's one of the few one-room schoolhouses left in Minnesota for K through 12. It's licensed through the Minneapolis School District, but it's there to serve patients who are well enough to go to school, but also their siblings who happen to be living with us as well, because families come together.
Wow. I did not know that. There's a school, and it's a one-room. That's awesome.
It's a one-room school.
That's great.
So
Well, we'll be back with more Jill Ivanacek with Ronald McDonald House. I'm Jason Stockwell with Remax Results.
Don Eldridge, Remax Results.
And we have Jason Light with Envoy Mortgage. Stay tuned, folks.
I'm